Well, hello, we're finally doing it. Next Evolution Podcast is changing its name from Next Evolution Podcast to Words for Change Podcast, Word for Change Podcast. And I was reading a scripture verse today that helped me really bring this home so that you can understand, why are you changing this podcast? Well, number one, it really made me think about a scripture verse that I've read about Paul the Apostle. For those of you who don't know, it's a guy in the scripture in the book of Acts, and he had a change. He had an experience. He had a religious experience with God. And then in that religious experience, it changed his life, changed his entire motivation for living, and changed his purpose for life. This is in Acts chapter 9 when Paul, at that time was Saul the Apostle, was persecuting the church. And as he went on persecuting the Christians in Antioch during this ancient time in the first century, he had a vision, and the vision came to him from Christ himself. And the story goes that he got knocked off of his horse, and Jesus spoke to him and said, "Why are you persecuting me?" In other words, why are you persecuting my church? Why are you persecuting my people? And it was from that point, God told him, no longer will you persecute my people, but I'm actually going to use you. I'm going to take what you were doing for bad, what you meant for bad, and I'm going to turn it around and make it for good. And I'm going to use you now to minister to the very people you were hurting. And so that reminded me of a story, not only from the scripture, but also from my personal story. When I decided that, I wasn't going to pursue my career in football or pursue a career in football or pursue a career in military service as an officer, I just felt a deep calling. I felt I had a purpose, and that was because of my religious experience. I moved from a small town in Virginia to a large area, and I decided that from my religious experience that I had at my church, that there was something more important in life than football. And so I had that kind of experience in my life. And I remember going to college, in Bible college, and I remember sitting in front of a chapel service on a Wednesday evening. And as I heard the preacher speak, and I felt this magnetic pull. And this magnetic pull basically said to me that there's something more important in life than football. There's something more important in life than football. And I just became overwhelmed. And I looked at the preacher and I said, I think I am called to be a preacher. I think this is the universe calling me. This is God's calling me to be a preacher. And it was from that point on, I knew exactly not only that I was called into ministry, but exactly what I was called to do was teach, preach, lead within the church and Christians in general. And so I've been pursuing that vision for so long. And it was the words that changed me that had a profound effect on my life. And when I thought about words for change, I thought about that's what this podcast should be about. The people, the interviews, the stories we curate should all be about change, how people's lives are going to be changed from the stories, from the interviews, and from the information we bring to you that will help empower and change your life as you go through your experience. Well, I want you to join with me. I'm going to join with you. We're going to join this thing together and figure out how did we get through this? And I would just invite you to come along this journey with us as we go from Next Evolution to Words for Change podcast. So on all the podcast platforms, you're going to see things starting to change. I just want you, as my listener and as my viewer, to know that I honor the fact that you've taken time to be with me. And I want you to go with me on this journey. I know it's going to be a blessing to you. So starting the first Sunday in February, we're going to start off with the live stream, and we're going to have all of our new stuff out, and we're going to focus in on change. How? We're going to change people through personal growth, spiritual growth, and social progress. What do you mean by social progress? I believe that everything that happens inside of us, all the change that we experience, should work itself out in our community, in our family, in our neighborhood, in our home, and in our state, in our world. The change starts with the individual and it goes out from there. And that's what God has given us to do. That's what the commission that God has given me to do. And I'm excited that I'm able to share that process with you and invite you to come along for the journey. So again, I look forward to everything that's going to come in the future for Words for Change podcast and your participation in creating that community. Please be sure to make a comment. Let me know what kind of resources and information that you need to help you get through whatever stage of life you may be in. And I promise you, your life will change for the better, just like mine did. Peace. Talk to you soon.